Alright guys, I have been tagged by VideoGameLover58, somebody I follow pretty closely, his channel, and he follows mine pretty closely. Basically, it's 15 questions that I have to answer, and at the end I'll pick somebody to tag as well. Let's get started. Alright, number one was, how old were you when you first started playing video games? Well, I had to count back because my age. It was 1981, 1982. I was in 6th grade, and the teacher brought in the very first computer I ever saw. That was a TRS-80. When we did good, as far as work, classroom work, he'd allow us to play games on this computer. I remember playing a Frogger-like game. I remember playing, it was either a Space Invaders or a Galaxian clone on the system as well. And then from there on, my love of video games kind of took off, and also that kind of influenced me playing on computers as well. Back in the mid 80s, that's really where I got started on the Atari 8-bit computers and the Commodore 64. All right, and number two is what is it about video games that you love? For me, it's always about losing yourself in a game. I love basically the story. Playing like a role-playing game. And just kind of losing yourself in it, taking control of characters and kind of assuming, what they can do and what they can't do. That's probably what I like about video games the most. Number three, can violence in graphic games be a bad influence on people? My opinion on this is if somebody's mentally unstable, it's probably not a good good thing for them to play violent video games. Because yes, they can be influenced, but for the average Joe, I don't see there being a problem, especially if they're young and their parents kind of take an initiative in this and kind of make sure they don't play the really bad stuff until they get older and they can understand it. Again, I don't see violent games. I mean, that kind of stuff is really meant for adults. And if there's kids around, as long as the parents really take an initiative on it and explain to them, it's not real. This is not something you would do, like the Grand Theft Auto games. I think it's okay. All right, number four, PC or console. It's really hard. I kind of grew up on the PCs, especially the 8-bit PCs, but of course consoles have always been a big part of my life as well. So for this, I'm going to say both. I'm not going to really choose either because I actually play on both. Number five, do you watch Let's Plays on YouTube, and if so, who? For me, there's just a couple. I like Crow, his Let's Play. He does a lot of pinball arcade. Now recently he's started to do kind of indie games on the consoles. I really like watching him play stuff, especially when he goes way back and plays like Atari 2600 games or the Commodore 64 or Atari 8-bit computers. Also, this is going to answer my next question as well. Far From Subtle. They've got a channel. They got about 130,000 subscribers. I love their Let's Plays. It's either a husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend. They got some friends that come over as well, and they play PC games, indie games, console games, retro stuff. And they kind of dress up like they just recently did Mario Party, I think it was 10, where they dressed up like Mario characters. So that's actually pretty cool. All right, and then number six is if you do watch Let's Play, who's your favorite? It's definitely going to be Far From Subtle. All right, number seven, what is your favorite genre of games? Duh. That is role-playing games. It's probably definitely my favorite genre because of the story. Number eight, are you an old school gamer or do you like getting the newest consoles? For me, I love both, but if I had to choose, it's going to be old school. I mean, even when I play like the indie games on the PCs, things like Rogue Legacy, games that kind of look like retro stuff, Shovel Knight, I love that kind of stuff that has that retro flair, even though it's played on modern PCs. Let's see, number nine, Nintendo or Sega. Got to kind of explain this a little bit. Back in the mid to late 80s, I had a Nintendo. Then after that, I upgraded to a Sega Genesis. So I actually didn't have a Super Nintendo back when they were out. So I love both, but if I had to choose, it's probably going to be Nintendo just because of Zelda, Mario, things like that. Let's see, number 10, favorite or least favorite video game characters. My favorite is probably, what did I write down? I'll tell you what, my least favorite is all the male leads that they've been putting in the recent Final Fantasy games. All the man boys, especially like in Final Fantasy X Titus, Final Fantasy 12 can't even remember the kid's name. I just hate those characters. I don't know why. I really can't, you know, like those characters when I play them. Favorite character is, man, that's hard. I'm trying to think of who is my favorite character. Probably is going to be Link for the Legend of Zelda series. I've always liked that character. Alright, number 11. Are you a Let's Player? And if you are, yes, what influenced you to make a gaming channel? That's very easy. That's going to be Crow and going to be Metal Jesus. They both have pretty decent channels. Metal Jesus is definitely over a couple 100,000 now, I believe, subscribers. Crow's probably like 4K. I watch those guys religiously, and they definitely influenced me to create my own channel a little over a year ago. Alright, number 12, favorite video game soundtracks. Had to think, definitely the Final Fantasy games like Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 6, the Chrono Trigger series. Also, I really like the, because I played the Commodore 64 back in the day, a lot of their SID tunes, like from Tim Follin. He's probably my favorite game composer. Things like Bionic Commando, Black Lamp, Gauntlet 3, and Ghouls and Ghosts. I've actually made videos on a couple of those games, and you can hear the title screens. You can check back on my videos and find those. Are any game recommendations? I've got a couple. Some of my favorite games. Dark Cloud 2 for the PS2, my favorite PlayStation 2 game. For the DS, Retro Game Challenge. It's a really cool retro game package, kind of where you compete and you have to like beat objectives in games to get to the next game, and it kind of starts in the early 80s up to the late to mid 90s. You know, game consoles are all fake, but they're actually a lot of fun. Also, they released Retro Game Challenge 2 in Japan. Never came over here, but they did translate the game into English, so you can play that in an emulator. For me, I played it on a flash card, and I probably like it more than the first one, actually. Let's see. Oh, and of course, I've got to mention Dragon Warrior Monsters 1 and 2 for the Game Boy Color. Probably in my top 5 games of all time. I love these games probably more than the Pokemon games. Alright, number 14. If you could be a character from any game, who would it be? That's probably going to be Terry from the Dragon Warrior Monster games, cause, like Dragon Warrior Monster 2, because of I'd love to be able to be in a world like that where I could go around and collect monsters and, you know, breed them and create things like that. I think that would be pretty cool. And number 15, who do you tag? Well, I decided to pick a couple people that really follow my channel religiously. That first one's going to be Matt and Jalen. They kind of come along out of nowhere. You know, they're over 400 subscribers now. I mean, they've come on really strong lately. They almost respond on every single video that I do. So guys, and it's time for you to answer the 15 questions. And the next one is somebody who's followed me almost from the beginning of my channel. That is McFly3077. You have been tagged as well. Well guys, that's it. Thanks for watching.